Hi, and welcome to our demonstration of project number 2 for the JHU Embedded Systems class. Today, we'll be going over our project, which is to take temperature and humidity readings from a DHT11 sensor using interrupts. So from the top, we can see that we're using the DHT11 library to actually read in data from the DHT11. We have it running on pin number 20. And we have a few variables here, which we'll explain as we go through the code. They essentially are just used to um, read data from the DHT11 at a 10-second interval. In our setup, you can see that we have a serial connection starting. We use this section here to set up our interrupts. Um, Essentially, we calculated a timer value of 62,500 to represent a 1 second interval, which will interrupt the program execution to take a reading, or rather, to jump to this ISR block where we'll perform the logic there. So then continuing onwards in our loop, we essentially check to see whether we're ready for a read. And if so, we'll actually go through and read the value from the DHT11 and print out the appropriate Fahrenheit values to the serial output buffer. So then kind of going over the ISR now. The logic here, since our interrupts are limited to a 1 second interval, just due to the limitations of our values, specifically we can't hold a value or cleanly hold a value larger than 1 second here because, for example, if we did 10 seconds, which would essentially just be this value here, that exceeds the amount of basically the size of our register. So we can't hold that there. So we just go with the 1 second interval and loop through right here with this counter. So essentially, we continue to increment the counter up by 1 until it reaches this value here, which we have defined up here at the top to be 10. When it reaches 10, meaning it's been 10 seconds or 10 interrupts have gone through, we set ready for read to true and reset the counter back to 0. Now, once ready for read equals true, it'll be true in this if statement here, and we'll read out all the values from the DHT11 sensor. And so in that way, we've essentially taken our 1 second interval interrupts and turned it into a 10-second interrupt for the purpose of reading the temperature. Now we can go and look at the serial monitor to see that the values are indeed being read correctly. So opening up the serial monitor, you see that our header is printed here. The 4 over here is just residual data from probably the last reading that it took. So we can see here it's beginning to read data. And we can see that's also reached a steady state of about 69 degrees Fahrenheit and 38% humidity. So going forward, I will put my hand over the sensor to show that the humidity kind of emitted from my skin is causing the sensor to have a higher reading. And sure enough, we can see that both the humidity and temperature went up as I put my hand there. Now that I've removed my hand, we should see that the values are coming back down. So it looks like the humidity has come back down. The temperature might take a little while due to lingering heat on the sensor from my hand. And sure enough, we can see that that is the case down here. So that essentially concludes our demonstration of module number 2.